engineering design process as a way to show children how to solve problems using a stepped approach. Stick around, we'll delve right into it. Hey, this is Moni Singh, an engineer, a creator, a mother, and a lifelong learner. Many people know me as Miss STEM, the founder of the STEM for Kids movement. I created this channel to help you raise your children, your students, for success in this ever transforming world laced with increasing digital influence. You watch these videos because you know that there's something more inside your kids. They got the Elon Musk type of talent hidden inside them. If you haven't done so, hit the subscribe button. And I share regularly, and as a subscriber, you have access to the practical tips, tools, and resources to raise resilient creators. So, anytime in an engineering organization when we're trying to solve a problem, we go through a process, and it could be called by many different names, or there could be different variations of the process. But generally, there is a stepped approach to solving problems, and we're going to use a simple variation of that stepped approach. And I want to start by showing you what those steps are, and then we'll get into more details of each and every step involved in the engineering design process. So the very first step, of course, is to know, what is your goal? And I'm going to try and type it. Let's see how that works. Okay. So you need to first understand what is the goal, right? What is it that we're trying to do? So that's number one. Now, of course, once the children or the engineers or the budding engineers, if you can say that, once they understand, at least they have some basic idea about the goal. The most important thing is to make sure you are very clear about that goal. You have a clear understanding of what needs to happen. So what is a successful um, answer for that goal. So that basically is this ask step, right? This is the step where you want to encourage kids to be asking a lot of questions about this goal, so that they're very clear about the what itself. Okay, and I'll come back and we'll talk in more details about that. The next step then happens once you have at least a little bit clarity about about the goal. Then you start getting into imagining possible solutions. And so that's the imagine step, right? And then the next step after that is going to be the planning step. We have the planning step right here. So you plan your solution, and then you go ahead and create it, build that solution, okay? So you'll create the solution, and the next step is going to be, so of course you began with asking questions, you imagine the solution, then you're making a plan. From the plan, you go ahead and create, and as you build that, and then the next piece is going to be improvising, right? This is where you have to test it and make sure that the solution that you have created indeed meets the purpose, the goal that you started off with. So you will go ahead, test it, and then improve upon it. And this typically is a very iterative process. So once you get into the improve phase and you feel like, okay, there's something still needs to be improved, then you might find yourself back here and kind of going down a circular pathway here. So, and this happens very regularly. This is like the standard process for any product that you see in your hand, whether it's a light like this one, or these Lego pieces, or perhaps a pen. Any of these products, even your phone, they would have all gone through a process like this, where engineers and the business people, the teams actually looked at number one, the understanding of what is it that the customer wants, what kind of product they want to go out in the market with. It could be a totally new concept, a new product idea itself, or it could be some way to improve an existing product. Um, and then and then also, so you could actually be dealing with any of these products that I mentioned to you. And the process also applies not only to products, but also to processes, right? So in many situations, you might be working, looking at some operations or perhaps a way of even making the product and looking at the process to see what are some ways to make it even more efficient. Now, before I go further into details around that, I wanted to quickly like double emphasize the fact that this process is very iterative, right? You saw that there's a full circle, and the engineers or the business people would actually go through the cycle several times. And so it's a continuous process of designing and improving. And that's why we see so many new variants, versions of a product. So, for example, if you just think about the Apple's flagship iPhone, right? The development on that phone started back in 2004, and the first version was released in 2007. And then in 2008, Apple released the iPhone 3G with product enhancements to increase the strength of cellular signals. And in the next 12 years, Apple released many more versions of the iPhone, from iPhone 4 to iPhone 13. So it is a very iterative process, and when you are working with the engineers, the or the budding engineers, making sure that you emphasize that with them, that they may not get the perfect product the first time, and that's perfectly fine, because that is a cycle of innovation. So now when we look into the so I wanted to give you examples of different ways. In one of the last videos, I talked about the asking, right? When you're trying to determine the what is the product, what kind of features and requirements do you have for that product? One approach, one way that you get those are basically directly from the customer, right? I was talking about the request for proposal process last time, and in that, there's actually the customer spells out everything, right? They tell you clearly that, this is what they want the product to do, how it needs to do it, what are the different constraints, what kind of time, money, budget, whatever constraints that there might be. They give you all of that. They give the specs and everything. So that's one way that businesses acquire the knowledge about what the customer wants. There are many other ways in which you basically get information from the customer about the what, right? So there's also research done. The businesses will go out, companies will conduct research, market research, to learn about the attitudes, the requirements, the needs, or the unmet needs in the marketplace. And there'll be surveys conducted many a times, and you may have participated in some of these surveys yourself as well. Um, there's also the aspect of focus groups. And this one is really interesting because many times the companies will actually bring a set of potential customers or customers and ask them directly if it's a new product, a new concept completely. They may ask them about this concept, about what kind of things, features, functionalities would make this a relevant product or something that these customers would want to buy. Or if it's an existing product, they might actually have them use the product and see them using it, and basically start and then ask them for feedback. How usable is this product? Are there certain kinks in this that could be possibly changed? So for example, if this is a simple work light. So, is the power on off button easily, can the customers easily find it and know that this is the way to turn this thing on or turn it off? They could also, there's this little, like a belt hook in here, which can actually swivel, which is a great thing. Now, they could also, try to hook it to their belt loops and see how easy it is to actually use it. Can and once you actually do loop it in, is it still usable? Can you really focus the light where you need the light to be in? So, all these things, as the customer is actually using the product, that's the best time. In real time, you receive that feedback, and you can use that feedback then to actually take it to the next version of the product, right? Now, um, for children, as you're working with the children's group, and especially if you're working in programming or computer game making, application designing, it's a great way to actually bring in this concept of focus groups. You may have actually heard about even the alpha and the beta testing in the software world. Similar things, right? Basically, what you're doing is you're letting the customers use the product. These are some of your early customers, and you're letting them use the game, play with the game, and as they're interacting with the game, they give you feedback in real time about what works, what doesn't work, and what could be some ways to actually make changes. Hey, now that you have watched this or heard what I just shared, go ahead and subscribe to the channel if you haven't done that yet. And also, depending on which platform you're on, go ahead and give me a 5-star rating or like and comment. And also share this resource with your friends and relatives so that they can also get their hands on all this valuable information that I'm sharing. Now, one more thing, I am giving away my 7 C's blueprint for raising successful children. So if you have not gotten a copy yet, go ahead and do that right away. You can go to www.raisingresilientcreators.com. The link is down in the description. So go ahead, click on it and get that resource. It's a very valuable resource that can help you with your priority of getting your children on the pathway towards success. So with that, again, subscribe to the channel and go ahead and get that resource right away.